Is a helpful way to go with that. The basic recognition that you get from your Buddhist understanding that what goes on in your head, you know the bumper sticker, don't believe everything you think? Right. And often when you're angry
Yes.
and heated, you do think you know you have exactly clear who's to blame, and
Yes.
it's the other person. And I think there's some things we can talk about that in a moment. Do you have, Isa has developed something, has been practicing a long time and teaching for a long time, something called depth hypnosis. And I think it would be helpful if you could give people an idea of that in general, and then if there are particular ways you work with people to help them deal with the fact that we all deal with anger coming at us and from within us. Any particular?
Well, in depth hypnosis, one of the first things we look at is personal responsibility, right? And if one is feeling angry, and if one is able to realize they're feeling angry, then what you want to do in as a compassionate way as possible is to try to understand, okay, where is this arising from within me? And to understand that it has really nothing to do with the other person if you are feeling angry. The other person may be doing something, but your reactivity is your responsibility. And maybe the other person is doing something that is abusive, and then you still have to bring compassion to the situation, try to understand, you know, is this anger actually informing me that I'm being abused? And in that case, the anger is serving a particular role. And you would not want to necessarily try to get to the place of, oh, I have to have compassion for this person while they're abusing me. You have to listen to your own reactivity, find out compassionately what's going on within you, recognize, okay, if this person's abusing me, I can certainly have, you know, understand where they might be coming from, but it's not okay for them to continue doing that. I need to use my anger to tell me there's a boundary that needs to be put down here, right? Then, you know, then let's say you're angry and you realize the other person's not doing anything. They're just being themselves. Well, then you know exactly, and you're holding yourself compassionately, you're holding the other person compassionately, you're understanding that you're each other's teachers. And then in that case, what you would do is you really need to take it inward. If the other person is not being abusive, you're just being reactive, then you really need to look at what is going on inside of yourself. And one of the things that we look at in depth hypnosis, I teach a class called The Inner Self in Relationship. And in that class, one of the premises is that in your external relationships, there is probably a dynamic that reflects and dynamic that's going on between parts of the self. So then if you're in a situation where someone's just kind of not doing too much and you're being reactive, then you have to see, okay, what are they doing that's causing this reactivity, and is there an internal configuration inside of me that needs to be resolved in order for me to be able to get to a place where I'm not reactive. So from a depth hypnosis point of view, anger is actually good news because it's information. And if you can bring, you know, fierce compassion for yourself, fierce compassion meaning you're looking at your suffering and you're trying to hold it compassionately, but you're also trying to understand the roots of that suffering. And if you have that view, then you can understand, okay, what is the proper relationship to this anger? How do I act from this anger? And all the while understanding that whatever is happening inside of you is probably a function of, or whatever's happening in the relationship between the two of you is probably a function of something internal to you that this person is bringing forward and is therefore your teacher and is therefore to be respected. And, you know, one of the things that I often say in my classes is, you know, that relationships are really a cauldron of transformation. And if you can bring whatever reactivity is coming up in the relationship and understand that it's there showing you something about yourself, even as you're showing the other person something about themselves, then you're way beyond having an argument. You're like way into consciousness. It's like, whoo, we just got, you know, the whole field just opened up, and we are here trying to hold ourselves and each other compassionately while we understand this anger. You know, we're not trying to patch it up. We're not trying to make it better. We're trying to listen to it, right?
I'd like to follow up on that with, heard a wonderful teacher who's a psychoanalyst, and his point is that there are certain traumas that we have developmentally, relational traumas from growing up. Everybody has something like that. But that gets pushed away as much as we can, and the neuroscientists are saying in the right hemisphere of the brain, we don't consciously get to deal with it until there's been a disruption in a current relationship. Could be your partner, could be your child, could be your therapist. Something that triggers these feelings of, you were so critical with me. But then, if I go deeper, like you're saying, and I get into much of a deeper understanding that it's been there before, oh, it's my father. That's where I felt so much pain. It allows for the healing. So it's a radical idea, I think, but I'm glad you said that if we only in our own personal relationships could embrace the disappointments and embrace even the arguments and the problems as those opportunities that you're saying to go into healing mode. In some people say it's the only way to heal those old wounds. Let me ask this of both of you too, because I think you're agreeing that let's say anger, frustration, annoyance, those level of feelings are secondary, and deeper feelings are the ones we all need to get to, which are vulnerable feelings of fear and hurt and pain. Is that?
Definitely.
Okay. And that's when, for me personally, and in my work, when I can see the other person, if they're angry with me, if I can see deeper into it, their hurt and their pain and their disappointment. I had one of those in my work yesterday, and it was very powerful to not take it personally, because even if there's a blaming statement, it's not about you, as you're saying. It's coming from the other person, the depth of their experience and their feelings. And that's very, very powerful. It helps me to deal with anger, both within myself and in the other.